All right, so let me start again. So this is where we left off last week, and I want to add a few more things to complete this building section. And then I want to talk about line weights. So the first thing is when we are drawing an architectural section, we need to, I've got, we need to show the extent of the foundation. And I'm showing here foundation walls down here. And if you remember, this is the foundation wall and this is the footing that the foundation wall sits on. And the foundation wall continues around the entire perimeter of the addition in this case, or the house really, for that matter. So if I were to, let me just go back to the floor plan just so uh, something to talk about here. So if this is our addition, there is going to be a foundation wall that goes all the way around, and also there's going to be a bump out or a foundation wall around our fireplace, because the fireplace is, you know, it's stone and it's massive and it's heavy and it needs to sit on a foundation too. So if I go back to our section here, I am showing the foundation coming down here, and this is where it cuts through our wherever our building section is. But I'm going to see also the foundation wall down here behind, underneath the fireplace, and we're going to see that in a dashed line. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just simply going to just draw dashed lines. Now, I think I already have a hidden to line type here. Let me just do it this way. Okay, so I've got a line work hidden to. I assume that you have some kind of hidden to line layer as well. It looks like I have, I don't know, I have another one, so maybe I don't know what I did here, but so I'm just going to pick one or the other. But I just want to make sure that it is, I've got a color, this is color 151, but I want to make sure that it is the hidden to line type. And it's a light line weight, though. So this is a 0.20. That's a pretty light. That's more of a medium line weight, but that's fine. I'll leave it at that. So I'm making my hidden to line the current layer, and then all I'm going to do here is with the line tool here, I'm just going to go across and show the footing. So this dashed line, or this hidden line here, this represents the footing for the foundation wall that is going around the perimeter of our addition. So we're showing it to show the contractor that there is a footing that is going around. We're not really seeing it's dashed because theoretically there's dirt in front of it. So we're kind of seeing the footing through the dirt. And then the foundation for the fireplace, we need to show that as well. So I've got my O tracking on, so I'm just gonna start my foundation wall, and it's gonna come down here, and I'll do it again here. I'm O tracking straight down and then starting at that point right there, coming down. So and then I need to show where this foundation wall comes down. I need to show that little footing that comes across on both sides here as well. So I'm going to just do that too. And I will go with the line tool, and I'm going to O track over. I forgot what this distance is here. So let me just measure it. 6 inches. No way. All right, let me measure it this way. 4 inches. So I'm going to O track over, I'll use my line tool, and I'm just going to O track over to the left 4 inches and then go straight down. And I'll do the same thing I'll just O-track over 4 inches and go straight down. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it is an important component of drawing a building section. We want to see that the footing and the foundation walls that are continuing around the backside, even though we're seeing it cut through here, we need to tell the contractor that it is continuing. Now, the contractor, the contractor will actually use, you'll have a structural engineer most probably involved, and your structural engineer, he or she will draw the plan of the footing and the plan of the foundation wall, etc. But we still need to be consistent, and we need to show it on our drawings as well. Okay, so that's that. Let me segue over to our roofing, our shingles. So I'm just what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw one shingle, and then we will array it up the rest of the roof. So we only need to draw it one time. And my shingles are going to be, let me just check my notes here just to make sure I got them to the right size. Yeah, my shingles are going to be 8 inches long. So, and the shingle isn't going to go parallel to the roofing. I'm going to show it at a slight angle. So I'm going to turn my ortho mode off, and also I'm going to turn my O snaps off. I don't want to snap to any of these lines here, to the endpoints or anything. So I'm just going to flip that off for now. And then go over to my line tool, and I'm using the eyeball system here, and I'm just going to draw a line that is, well, first of all, I'm on my hidden 2 lines. So let me go to medium, line weight medium here. Okay, so now let me draw my line, and it is going to be 8 inches long. So I'm just going to use the move tool here. And so you can see it's farther out over here, and it's close to the roof sheathing here, the plywood sheathing over on this side. It's not touching it, but it's close. So that when I'm going to copy here. So when we do another shingle, it'll come up like this, and another one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to array it. So there's our first shingle, and then I'm going to use the array tool to just get them all the way up the rest of the side. So we've used rectangular and we used polar, but we haven't used path. And a path array is just like in the example there. A path can be a straight line, or it can be a curved line, and it will just array whatever spacing we want along that line. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use this angled line right over here as our path. So I've got the path array selected, and it's asking me to select the objects in the array. So I'll just select this one. That's the only object that I want to array here. So I'll hit my space bar, and now it's asking for the path curve. And so in this case, it's just the curve is actually just a straight line. So I'm just going to click on that line, and there is my array. It's just drawn it for me. Now, the spacing here is not really what I want here. And if you remember, this is 8 inches, I think. Yeah. So so let me just see here. I can't change this. So there's a couple ways to do this. And let me just see if I just change that to 8. So I just changed that distance to 8, and that's okay. It's coming right to it. I want to see a little bit of overlap though. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. So I'll just make it 7, 7.5, 7.5. Just see. Actually, that looks pretty good. So they're overlapping, and they're working their way all the way up to the ridge. This is the ridge of the roof right here. Now, there is another way I can do this. Let me just undo that. I don't know, it was like a 10 or something. So there's a large gap here, and instead of typing in the distance here, I can actually use this grip if I wanted. And I can just grab this grip, and then I can just slide this down, and you can see those shingles are compressing and coming down. So either way will work. You know, nobody is going to measure, you know, exactly 8 inches or 10 inches or 7.5 inches. Either way will work. But I just wanted to show you both ways when you're putting an array along a path. So all right, so I'm up at the roof here, and this shingle is extending a little bit farther than it needs to, and we'll address that in a minute. In a minute, let me just. I'm still in the array tool here, so I'm just going to close this array. And instead of doing it on the other side, I'll just mirror the arrays. I'll just go to my mirror tool, select the array. I'll just pick a point here on the ridge. Oh, I need to put my O snaps and my ortho back on. Array source objects, no. Okay. So there I've got my shingles on both sides, and they are overlapping here. So when I am, what I guess what I could do is I could explode the array, or I could count how many to erase this one. But if I want to erase this top shingle here, oops, what I can do is I've selected the array here. It's selected. You can see it's highlighted. And if I hold Control and then hover over that top shingle highlights, and when I just left click on it, that shingle is highlighted. And then if I hit my delete key, it's deleted. And all the other shingles stay. Now, the problem is, though, is I need to have that top piece. I just don't want them to cross here. So let me just undo that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my line tool, and I'm just going to trace over here. So I just traced over that piece of shingle and that piece of shingle. And then this extra piece here and that extra piece here, I will delete. So step one, select the array. Step two, hold your Control key and click on the offending shingle that you want to delete. And then step three, hit your delete key. So I'll do the same on the other one. So first, select the array. Step two, hold Control. Select the array, select the shingle. And by the way, it doesn't have to be that one. It could be any one of them or any part of the array, and then just hit delete. So now I have this nice roof cap right here, or running over my ridge of my roof, and I've got my shingles running down the left and down the right side. Beautiful. All right, let's look now at the siding. All right, so if you look at your house, if you've got siding, or any building that's got siding, most of the time what happens is the siding goes up to a certain point, and then there's a trim piece that runs up here, and sometimes it's a large one and sometimes it's curved, but most times it's just a straight trim piece, and it runs around the entire perimeter of your eave. And in this case, and we're going to do that, and then what happens is then the shingles kind of butt up to the bottom of that trim piece. Now that trim piece is just going to be a 1x6 piece of wood. 1x6 meaning 1 inch by 6 inches, but that's the nominal dimension of wood. And lumber, as we learned last time, a 2x4 is not 2 inches by 4 inches. It's 1.5 by 3.5. So same with a 1x6. So a 1x6 is actually 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches. Why? I'm not really sure, but it is. So I'm just going to use my trusty rectangle tool here, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And again, it's 3/4 of an inch, so I could do 0.75 or 3/4 if I want, and then hit my tab key to get the vertical dimension, and that is 5.5 inches, 5.5. So there's our trim piece, and I am just going to grab it and move it right into that corner. All right, good. So now let's get in our shingles. No, I'm our siding. Sorry. Blah. Okay, so our siding, I'm going to use the line tool here, and I'm going to just kind of draw a little triangle. Our siding is going to be 6 inches straight down, and then it's going to come out a 1/2 inch, so 0.5, and then it's going to go back to that start point. So these two lines here that I drew, the 6 inch and the 1/2 inch, those are just guidelines. So, well, actually just the 6 inch is a guideline. I'll leave this one. So I'm just going to delete that. So this is going to be one slat of siding that is going to go on our on the side of our building. All right, so I'm going to move this. I'm just going to use the move tool, and I'm going to move it right to the midpoint of that trim piece, right there. So it's kind of a little bit away from our sheathing here. This is our plywood sheathing on our wall, if you remember, and then the shingles graphically are we're showing it pulled away a little bit. In actuality, there would be building paper that goes down here, and then the shingles would be nailed literally right through the building paper onto the sheathing right here. Now, so they would actually touch the sheathing, but I'm not showing that for just to make it graphically more readable, more legible. Okay, so now I'm going to do another array. And this time I'm going to do the rectangular array. And I'm going to grab the two little lines that are going to be one slat of siding. And as soon as I hit my space bar, it's created an array. And that array has got 1, 2, 3 3 rows. Rows run vertically, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So we're gonna only have one column in this array. So I'm gonna change my columns from 4 to 1. Good. And you'll notice that our array is running up vertically, and we really want it to run down. So I am going to change first. Let's get wait, here's the rows 3, and there's 9 inches between them. So I want there to be only 6 inches between them. So let me change it to 6. And now they're attaching, they're right in the way, but they're running in the wrong direction, right? So let's change this. So positive is up and negative is down. So let's change this from +6 to -6. And there they go. So now we've got three rows of siding. So how many do I need? I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna just sort of play here. I'm gonna say negative because I want it to go down. I'll just say 20. I don't know. Oops, 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 oops. That was bad. So -6 is correct, but the number of rows here is 3. I want to change that to 20. Sorry. Okay. All right. So 20 is more than enough here, right? So 20, 19, 18, 17. Let's try 13. Okay, so let's try 14. Okay, yeah. So what you want, so, in this case, all of our walls are all the same height, but if you're ever doing a section, or if ever you are gonna put siding on someone's house, which very well might happen, you need to remember that the last slat, or the last piece of siding, this one right down here, needs to go below below the floor line. So if you remember, this is the floor line, right? This is our finished floor here, or the top of the concrete slab, and our finished floor is above it, carpet or tile or wood or whatever it is. But we need to make sure that that slat of siding is going below it. So this is going one below it, so we are good. All right. That looks actually pretty good. So now I am just going to mirror this. I'll grab that trim piece and the siding. It's all connected. It's an array. So, and I'll just go from the midpoint of our fireplace, go straight down, delete source objects, no. And there we've got our siding on that side. So this section looks pretty darn good, I would say. Okay, so now, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna, before I go any further, I'm gonna go to my elevations and section tab here. I've got I finally put the interior elevations in here, and I've got a key plan here. I'm gonna just create a viewport. I'll just go over to my layout tab and just create a rectangular viewport here. And just kind of go in there, zoom in, and my building section is going to be 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch scale, I think here. So let's see, I think it is. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of center it in my viewport here. And I want to put this on my viewports layer. And I would like to lock this viewport. Okay. So what looks good and what looks bad here? Well, these dashed lines are kind of wonky, and this insulation certainly is wonky. So what I want to do is I want to regenerate. Now, if I'm regenerating, regen, if you remember, regenerates your drawing. And if I just type, let me just zoom extents here. If I type regen, R-E-G-E-N, I mean, it doesn't look like anything happened. And what it did was it regenerated my paper space here. But it didn't regenerate the viewports. So there's two ways that I can handle this. One is to double click within the viewport and regenerate it. Or, so go into white model space and then type regen, and that should regenerate this. Or sometimes you want to regen all of your viewports. So you can type regen all, A-L-L. Oops. And there it regenerated everything. So now my dashed lines look pretty good. These don't look that good though. So sometimes you have to regen again. So this time I'll just regen within this viewport. So I'll just double click in it. And now I'll just type regen. And I might have to do it yet a third time. There we go. So it needed some coaxing in order to get this insulation here, but we got it. So that looks good. So just to recap, if ever you are in Paperspace and you want to regen one of your viewports, you have to either double click within the viewport and then type regen, R-E-G-E-N, to regenerate, or from Paperspace, regen all, one word, R-E-G-E-N-A-L-L, and that will regen all of your viewports. Okay, so that looks pretty good, I guess. But I'm gonna do a plot preview here. So if I'm gonna plot, right up here is the plot button. You can click on that and you will get your plot window. Often I type the word plot to plot, and that comes up. Now remember, I don't know if we talked about, I know in CAD 1 we talked about it. Plotting is the equivalent of printing, and AutoCAD calls it plotting because for most of the time you're using great big sheets of paper, 24 by 36 or 36 by 42, great big huge sheets of paper, and you need to send those to a plotter. Your HP plotter at home or Epson plotter at home isn't going to do the trick. So AutoCAD calls it plotting. And this is the plot window that comes up, and yours might come up and look like this. And if it does, there's a little button right here to expand and get more options here. So right here in the upper right, I'm going to plot monochrome CTB. That's a color table. I don't know what CTB stands for, but there's a couple here. Screening sort of gives you like a gray, like if you want to plot a floor plan lightly and then go with your Sharpie or with a marker or something like that and make changes to it, to the plan. This is a nice way to just get 50% screening or 25% screening. But what we want is monochrome. And then our plotter, I just set to AutoCAD PDF. There's a bunch here. There's high quality if you're gonna be doing a presentation. But in general, I just do this AutoCAD PDF general documentation when I'm plotting. And what it does is it just prints to PDF, and then you can save your PDF and then turn it in or whatever you're gonna do with it. And then the paper size here, this is set to architectural C size, which is 18 by 24. Is the sheet really 18 by 24? I guess it is. And what to plot is layout. The scale is 1:1. All right. And I have this already set, but if your settings are not set to this, set them to AutoCAD PDF and to monochrome, and then mine is grayed out because it's already set to it, but yours will not be grayed out if you are making these changes here. So click apply to layout. Now, if yours are already set up, then this is moot. So this whole diatribe here is mainly to go over to the preview button so we can preview the plot. So again, when I previewed my plot, my viewports are not visible, which is exactly what I want. Well, I've already put this building section thing in here, but I need to pull that down. And my line work is showing some heaviness and lightness here. So I've got the walls here, the thickness of the walls are shown as heavy. And if you remember last week, the first thing that I did was I took all of my line work for the elevation portion of this building section, and I put it on my light line type, whatever the name of it is. and it looks, you know, so it's less heavy, and it sort of looks like it's receded back into the distance there. So so this actually looks pretty good already. I'm not happy with these dashed lines here, and I'm not happy with these. I think that these should be on a lighter a lighter line. And also what I like to do is I'd like to enhance the perimeter with a heavier line. Now this is already pretty heavy and it's not bad, but I'm going to try using a heavier line weight for the perimeter here. And I think that will make it pop even better. And then what I'd like to do is maybe articulate the sides of the fireplace. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this. There's a little X right here, or you can hit escape to close the preview. And by the way, I'm going to close this plot. I'm not going to actually plot. I'm just closing this. By the way, you should be able to do a plot preview right from this menu up here. Right there, I have plot preview. Now, if you don't have that, there's a little down arrow right here, and these are other things that you can show up on this little quick access menu up here. So if you don't have a plot preview, here it is right here. Just check it. Make sure that it's checked. So now, rather than going to plot and then looking at the settings and then clicking plot preview, I could just go right here to plot preview, and there I've got a preview of my plot. Okay, so let's correct these few things that I wasn't too happy with, and let's make this even better. So let me go back to model space. All right, so the first thing I wasn't really liking was the weight of these dashed lines. Now, I put mine on my line work hidden to layer. And I know that because I just selected one of them, and there it says line work hidden to. So so let's go over to layer properties and find. Now yours might be named something slightly different, and that's fine. So I set mine to 0.20, and I think you saw that I was vacillating about it, and but I decided to keep it, and now in retrospect I'm not happy. So let's make it a little bit lighter, and I think I'm going to go. I don't want a medium. I think let's try 13. And if 13 doesn't work, I'll try 9. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to go to 0.13 millimeters. Hit OK. All right, so let me close this. Let me go back to Paperspace here and then do another preview. Let's see. Yeah, see, these lines are now lighter than those, and I think that works. That makes me happy. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, good. These though are still heavy, so let's change that. So this time, I think what I'll do, I think I'm going to stay in Paperspace here, and I'm just going to double click. So again, in white model space, and then let me just find out what this is. Okay, so this is line work hidden to as well. This is line work hidden to. So that's interesting. So they should both be same. Let me just do a plot preview again. Well, I just wish they were a little lighter. Okay, I'm going to change it. So I'll just go to my layer palette again, and line work hidden to. I set it to 13. I'm gonna put it up to 9.09. Generally speaking, when I'm drawing hidden lines or dashed lines, I generally like them really light. All right, that makes me a little happier. So those are lighter now, and that's okay if these are lighter. All right, I think that's good. So I am going to change the siding to a heavier line weight. So this is on right now. Let me go back to my home ribbon here. That is on line weight medium. So let's just put it on line weight dark. See how that works. And you know what? Something else I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to show my line weights. So down here in this passel of buttons down here, I have a button right down here that says show hide line weight display. And if you do not have this, and it's very possible that you may not have it on yours, there's this little 3 horizontal lines here. If I click on that, I can find, here it is, line weight. So I just have line weight selected here. Now, generally speaking, when I am drawing, I do not like to use this line weight. I only use it at the very end of a project. I almost always have this off because I just find it distracting. But when I do turn it on, it gives my lines some thickness. So that kind of gives me a little bit of a clue without going into plot preview. Plot preview is much more accurate. I just think that this is like really awkward, but you know, I want to show it to you so that you know what it is. So because like right here, this is the heavy line weight and that's a medium line weight. I can barely see the difference between the two. But in any case, I do want to change this, and these perimeter lines to line weight heavy or dark. Now see, that to me is just, you know, really muddy looking, but let's just see what it looks like when I plot this. Well, it comes out a little better. Maybe what I'll do is I'll leave this as line weight medium. No, I think I'm going to leave it as line weight medium. It's just, look, it just is too dark. So let me put them back where they belong. These right here. I'm going to put those back on line weight medium. Now I'm leaving this one on the dark layer because that looked okay. But the reason that these look awkward is because I have 2 lines and they're really close together. So they kind of like merge, and then it looks muddy and sloppy. So I'll take my shingles and I will put those on my line weight heavy or dark. Just make sure. Line weight dark. Yes. And that's, I think that works well. And I'll do the same on this side. So I'm going to put, oh, this is my ridge. So I'll put that on line weight dark. And okay, so here's another thing that you can do. And this is something that I do in my office a lot. I try to stay away from black and white lines, particularly when multiple layers are the same color. So I'm going to change my line weight dark color from white to something else. I'm going to change it to like, I'm going to change it to this purple. Now it's not going to print differently, but I'm just going to view it differently. So, okay, so now that is purple. So now I know, well, that's on, oh, you know what? That's staying that way because I created it on the medium line weight. So I'll just leave it. I'll leave that. Okay, let's look at the foundation wall. So yeah, I'm gonna heavy up the slab, and I'm gonna heavy up the foundation wall. So I'm gonna put that on my line weight dark. And now, you know what I'll do? I'll use match properties here. And I'm just going around the perimeter. I'm going to use a window there to get that. I'll leave the hatch lighter. I'll leave that at medium or light. I just want this concrete slab to really read as, you know, a heavy piece that we are cutting through on our section. So this just helps me. When I see it turn purple, then I know, all right, I'm on the right line weight. So this is kind of catching that. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a window here just to collect that, catch that line. All right. I think that that is going to be okay. So let me do one more plot preview. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a marked difference between the concrete here and the millwork back here. So that's exactly what I want. And then I don't know, I think let's just see what it's like. So this is on my line weight light. What if I put this on medium? And I put maybe this on medium. And we'll plot preview here. So that's kind of, you know, it's kind of showing this piece and a little, it's showing it having a little more gravitas, and I kind of like that. And you know what I think I might do? I might do the opening of the fireplace and maybe this hearth piece in that medium line weight too. So I'm going to do again match properties just because it's faster, and I'm just going to choose the opening of the fireplace here. And I'll just choose this hearth piece because that's sticking out. All right, so let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So, you know, I mean, where does it end, right? I could do the top of this crown molding here in the medium line weight. Actually, that might not be bad. That might be nice too. But we just want to have some delineation between what we're cutting through. We're cutting through the roof and the ceiling and the walls and the concrete floor and the foundation walls. So those are the things that we want, either heavy or medium. Again, these lines are medium, but because they're doubled up, it's kind of reading as really heavy. And when I did change one of them to heavy, it just made this really muddy, and my lines kind of merged together. So it's kind of an art, and there's no exact right or wrong as far as line weights are concerned. I I think that it's really important. It makes your drawing read a lot better, and I always think that's a good idea to really pay attention to line weights. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, one more thing that I want to do, well, while I'm thinking about it, first of all, my building section here, I created another tag here, and I want to change that scale to 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to move it down so it's underneath here. Put my ortho on so it's nice and straight. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. So I want to show a detail over here. We're gonna do like a blow up detail just of this eave here, so that the contractor can see what our intent is a little clearer. So I'm going to. So we need to do two things. Let me first. Okay, I'm back on my line weight medium layer, which is good. I'm going to draw a circle here. And I'm going to turn my line weights off because they're just making me crazy here. So this is this is the circle of what we will be detailing up here. And so I want to draw a larger circle up here. And so this will be the blow up of this right down here. And I want to connect these two circles with a line. So the first end point of the line is going to go from the center of the one circle, and then let me turn my ortho off, and then perpendicular to the second circle. And then I'll just do a little bit of trimming right here and just trim that out. And by the way, I am in paper space right now. So, okay, so what this is telling the contractor is this little circle here, here's the blow up of it right there. So what do? Do we redraw this? Heck no. What we'll do is we'll turn this circle into a viewport and then blow up this detail here in this circle. So let's do that. I'm on my layout. I'm going to go over to my layout tab right here. And over at my layout viewports here, by default, I'm at rectangular, but there's a couple other viewports here that I can create. A polygonal one, which is, multi-sided, or hexagon or whatever you want, or an object. And a circle is certainly an object. So I'm going to select object, and then AutoCAD's asking for select the object. And as soon as I do, it turns this circle into a viewport. So how cool is that? So now I can double click within the viewport, and I can move it around and zoom up. And let's set a scale for this because we want to be exact. So I don't know. Let's see. How about 1/2 inch? A little small. Let's go to 3/4 of an inch. Actually, that's perfect. So, okay, there is my blow up right there. And then what you might do, or if you saw your architect would be working on this, he would show, blocking and this fascia and soffit, and maybe put some dimensions around the gutter, etc. We're not going to do that, but I just want to do the blow up. And then the one thing that I don't need to see is this insulation right here. So my insulation, if I do, let me do a regen here. So there's my insulation. It's showing it at a gawky scale. Let me regen again. Yeah, it's not going to cooperate with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freeze this. I'm going to freeze it in this viewport. So I do have my viewport. And by the way, before I forget, I'm going to lock my viewport. That way, as I zoom in, I'm not, I'm not changing the scale. So I set my scale to 3/4 of an inch, then I lock my viewport. So I'll just go over to my home ribbon and I will just click on this freeze button and I'll just freeze my insulation. And you'll notice that it froze it in my circular viewport, but it did not freeze it in the other viewport, which is exactly what I want. I want to see my insulation here, but I don't need to see it in my blow up. So, okay, good. So, question. Does this viewport belong on the viewports layer? Somebody shout out an answer. Don't be afraid. Crickets. Are you there?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay, fine. That's an answer. So let's put it on the viewport layer. And let's see. Because, Paul always says, put the viewports on the viewport layer. So let's do a print preview here. When I do the print preview, I don't see any viewports. No viewports are visible, including that circular viewport, which is right here. And for this detail, we do want to see that circle. I want to see that circle so that, the contractor sees, this little circle and then the big circle. So let me close this print preview and let's put this back on my line weight medium. So this is the one exception to the rule. Let me do a print preview again. And yeah, so now this looks a lot more professional. So when the contractor looks at this, or anyone, one of your colleagues or anybody, they'll go, aha, this little circle here, here's the blow up of it. All right, this looks pretty good. The only thing that's missing still is we need to tell whoever's looking at our drawing, where is this section taken? Where is this section? Well, so we're going to show that section here on our floor plan here, or this little key plan. So I'm just going to borrow one of these, or I'll just copy one of these babies here, and I'll just put it someplace here. All right, and this is going to be the tag for our section mark. So I'm going to I'm going to draw a line straight across and then straight up. And what I'm going to do is you don't have to do this, but I like to just make it the same height. And I want to make it the same layer as my tag. Tag should be, this is detail 2 on sheet 4. So, okay, so this is B4. I need to change this to detail 2. Sheet number 4 is correct. All right, so this section, so when I'm looking at this, or when you're looking at this, you're looking at this and you're like, okay, so we are cutting the building right here. We're slicing right along this line, and then we're pulling this piece away and we're looking at it in section. So what should I expect to see? Well, I should expect to see the wall here. We're cutting through the wall, and we're cutting through the wall over here. And in fact, I should be able to see the window here too, right? Well, I'm not showing a window here. We could draw a window in here and all the windowsill and all of that stuff, but I'm not showing that window. So this section isn't actually right in the exactly right spot. So I'm going to grab this section plus the little tail over here. If I can grab it. My mouse is not cooperating very well. And I'm going, we go to move, grab the section line and the tail, and I'm going to move it. So I can move it either here so that it's cutting through the wall, or I can move it down here so it's cutting through that wall. And that's what I'm going to do, because this is just like, it's right on top of the millwork. This is gives me a little more breathing room. So I'm going to put my section mark there. So now if I'm looking through this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be looking through this wall. I'm going to see all of this in elevation, and I'm going to be cutting through this wall. And sure enough, that is exactly what we're doing. So we're cutting through this wall, we're seeing all of this in elevation, and then we're cutting through this wall. And I think we are in good shape. Now, I would, if it were me, I would consider playing with line weights on these elevations as well. So when let's just let's do a preview of this. Look at this one here. So when I am looking at a elevation, an elevation is not a section, but you almost kind of treat it like one. And what I like to do is I like to heavy up the line work that is running around the perimeter of our elevation. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to change this line work to heavy. And then the stuff that is sort of sticking out into the room, like this millwork over here, I'm going to put that on medium. And then the stuff that is, in the back against the back wall, like these windows and, this outlet and maybe the baseboard down here, I'm going to put that on my light line weight. So let's do that. So I'm just going to come up here, and you can be working in, you know what, I'll do this one in model space just because I was working in paper space, but I'll just do this one in model space. So I'm going to I'll start with the heavy. I'm going to grab one of the lines, plop it onto my dark line weight, and I've changed my line color to purple. So that's good. That gives me a clue, an easy clue as to what layer it's on. And then I'm just going to use my buddy match properties. And I'm just going to go around the perimeter. And make that heavy. Now these lines, I believe I've made line weight medium. So I'm not going to touch these. I'll leave those alone. And this backsplash or the toe kick back here, that also I'll leave on line weight medium. But I kind of want this line that's along the wall here. I'd like that to be light, actually. But it's one line. So what do? Well, I can trim and then redraw it and put it on the light line weight. But I want to show you another command that I'm sure I haven't showed you before, and it's called break, B-R-E-A-K. And it does exactly what you think it might do. It breaks the line. So I don't even know if it's on here. Let's see. No, that's fine. I didn't really think that it was. So from the command line, I'm just going to type the word break, B-R-E-A-K. And I'll just hit enter. And it's asking to select the object. So I can select that object. And then it's asking for down here the second breakpoint, because what it did was that wherever that first line was, or wherever I selected the object, it's going to break that line. So I'm just going to go over here, and now it is two lines, this one and this one. So this one is a little bit back, so I can just sort of extend it to here. And now I have two lines. So this one can be on my line weight medium layer, which is what I want for the toe kick, because this millwork is sticking out into the room. And this line, which is just the baseboard, I'll put that on my light line weight. So I made my light line weight a gray color. So that turned gray. And then I'm just going to do match properties and put my windows on that layer. And I'll just use my selection window here and just select all of it. And I think that looks pretty good. So let me go back to my elevation sheet here, and let's do a print preview. Yeah. So now we have a heavier line running around the perimeter. We have medium lines working here for our millwork. and then light lines for those objects that are just sort of like all the way in the back plastered onto the wall, like the windows and this outlet and the baseboard down here. So that I think is a great improvement. And I would suggest that you do the same for your west elevation and your north elevation when you're turning in your building section. Set the line weights for these elevations as well.